we don't review. So we're just asking them to make a decision, make a choice, and commit to it with intent. That's it. Anyone can do that, right? Now all we're asking them to do is, okay, then review the choice and the execution. Separately, not together. Why separately? Why don't we just say review? Why do we want them to review the choice and the execution separately? It's common sense when you think about it, but let's see.
Well, they're different things. If you want to see if someone can make the right decision, not necessarily whether they've got the skill to do the thing.
Yeah, so some great examples could be, right, in review now I've separated them, executed, I nailed it, it was awesome. It was the wrong choice. Or, right choice, didn't execute well enough. I committed to it, but actually my execution was poor, so I need to work on execution. Or, I committed, right choice, and I committed, execution was great, it didn't come off just because that player just did that bit of magic, but it was the right thing to do and I do the same again. But it's a separation thing. If we put them together, we can't really review accurately, can we? Because they need to understand there's a separation between those two and need to know which one they need to adapt. Because if we can get them to do that when they come to us and when we ask them to go in groups for 10 seconds, we're asking them just to go through that. Eventually what will happen is they'll do this live without thinking. In a match, under pressure, this is what they will do naturally. Commit, bang, choice, commit. That was a choice thing, bang, next time I'm going to do this. Okay, next time I'm going to do that, bang. Don't to do it again. And it's just naturally, that's what will happen all the time. Now when that happens, you have a very special team. Because they will get the best out of what they've got as a team dynamic. You can train this, you can teach it. You can teach this in one session, and they'll become natural at it within a few months, even in gameplay. And then we can start doing what we call the hot reviews, where we don't stop play, we just shout our name out. And we'll just ask them to shout the conclusion out of what they've just done. So that can be nailed it, awesome, because remember we're looking for both the exceptional and the unacceptable, or there might be more width, coach, more width. You don't have to stop play, thumb up, great. He's aware of what he needs to change. Great, because they've learnt this. And that means we don't have to stop play as much, but we can still adapt if we see something not changing based on players working out and athletes working out that the other teammates of themselves. Can we see the value of that? And then that's just back to this. So again, I'd really ask you to share this with the athletes, is just say, all I'm asking you to do is understand what excellence is. I just want you to make a choice, commit. So I'm asking you to make a choice, commit 100% to the execution of it, then review the choice and the execution. That's it. That's all I'm asking you to do. And I'll go through that when we come in. I can ask you that way. But that's all I'm asking you to do when you're live out there. If you commit, I'll never be upset if you commit, because we can review that if you've made a choice and committed to it. We'll never review something if you don't commit to it. There's no point. We're wasting our time. So we develop an attitude very early on with the most grassroots athletes we're working with, that all you're asking them to do is make a choice and commit. But I understand the biggest thing I need to do is commit. Now if we can develop that so early on, think of the impact we're going to have when they become seniors. And Alan's team in the Euros, that was one of his #1 things. Make a choice and commit to it. And he drove that through the whole of training, and then he just drew all of 3. Now real impact, because they weren't expected to do so well, but with what he had, they did well. Now what was interesting was when he reviewed, he recognised when he was reviewing this himself, there was times in the final when he made the wrong choice in reflection, but in the time he felt it was the right choice. So it wasn't a mistake, that's learning for you. That's how you evaluate. So this is what we need to do as coaches, and we need to ask our athletes to do. So we shouldn't be wound up emotionally if it hasn't happened, we're just asking them to reflect and review, conclude. You happy with that? Okay, so hot review. Hot review is just a conclusion. So if we just say hot review, shout someone's name out that's running up and down, we just ask them for the conclusion. We're not asking them to do a review. We just want to see, have you recognised what you've just done? Now initially they'll be totally lost with this, that's why you need to teach them it and then do it in slow time. But they'll get it very, very quick, so you don't have to stop play. The conclude is just purely that, the review is you want all the 4. So the review, when someone's run up and down, you wouldn't ask them for a review. That's when you come in, and we'll go through this framework just before lunch where we use a time parameter, so it stops us talking for too long. So you can split them into their teams, or you can split them into smaller groups. Normally it's just the teams, and when you blow the whistle for them to come in, they go to their groups first. They have 10 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever you decide early on. You want to get it down to 10 pretty quick, where they do the review process. Based on what we said was success, nothing else, Then they come into you, and straight away you just nominate someone for the answer from each group. Now you only have 40 seconds with them as well. So they have their 10 or 20, you have your 40. So within 40 they must be going out again. And get your assistant yourself to put a clock, or another player to put your clock on you. So in that time when they come in, you either ask them to conclude. If you think they're waffling, okay, just talk to me what happened over there. Okay, I'm happy with the answer. What if this happens? So they've told you what they're going to do or what they've nailed. They wouldn't change a thing. You've got to the conclusion. They've answered last because they've told you the conclusion. You just send them out again and show them. And that's under time. So maximum time, if it's 40 for you and you give them 20, that's a minute. But we want to get them down to 10, and you have them 40, that's 50 seconds. Because we haven't got the pressure of a match, so we're giving them less time. And they'll do that within a session, you'll be able to get them to do that effectively. So long as you do what first? What do we need to give them clarity on to allow them to review effectively and fast? Yeah. So what we're doing in that section of the session, what success is, and agree what's acceptable and unacceptable. So we're only asking to review that, nothing else. It keeps it simple, keeps our mind focused on that's the thing we're working on, that's what success is. It becomes very, very simple for them and clean. Can we see the differences? We cool with that? We have to teach them, that's why I put it on there, so when you get it printed out it's a big one. Even take a session and say the aim of this session is to teach you some new principles, and the aim of this session is success is teach you the review process, and this is the value of it. And just use something, a skill they already know, a content they already know. So this is our content, but this is the aim of the session, and teach it, use it to get it there. So that and the rule of 3 would be content for a session. Just work on something that's not new, and you'll have a massive return on it for the next year just by committing to that session to help them learn that. It's huge, really is. So fundamental application tools. This is what I'm going to ask you to do after lunch. Now you can decide whether you want to do it or not. What I'm going to share with you, I believe you can, because they're just some fundamental application tools. I definitely ask you to do the rule of 3 if nothing else, because anyone can do that, and it will change the dynamics of the session with the athletes. So stick to the content that you're doing. You may find, based on this principle now, you may even be thinking, I've got too much content in the session based on what you've heard already. But that's up to you. But these are the tools I want to share with you. So this is the first one. So whenever we chat to them, they have to start, they have to finish. And we have to set a timeline on it. It's cool. If you say, look, Mark, I want to start with 90 seconds for when you bring them in, I'm cool with that. But that has to happen. So they come in, they're the people talking. What don't we let them talk about? Yep. Come in, only that. They have to get a conclusion. If we want to challenge it, we do. If we think it's beautiful, we don't need to say anything. Don't use the timer. Okay, show me, and send them back out again. If they nail it within 20, send them out. You don't have to say anything after they've finished. This is a big thing that a lot of coaches struggle with. They feel they have to say something. You don't have to say anything if they've told you what you want to hear. Show me the answer. Not tell me the answer, show me the answer, off you go. So you don't have to do this. I've given you exactly what you want to hear, and you have to go, oh, that's really good, and don't forget this, 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 and this. Because when you're talking, what potentially could you be doing with the athletes?
They could be playing.
Yeah, and what else could be happening when they're stood there?
They could be talking.
They could be getting disengaged now. Because now you're talking, they've already given you the answer, now we're losing. They've just told you what you want to hear. Show me, go and play. We want them out there playing, right? We don't want them stood much too long. So that's what I'm asking you to do. So we need to give them a bit of an education on that, very simply. That has to happen first, right? Otherwise they can't review. So 20 seconds initially, so they don't come to you, they go to the groups. Just make sure you stick to your timings, don't say 20 and give them a minute. Understand, let them know that's all they've got, so they have to get the conclusion then. Let them know when they come in, you're going to nominate. And but I can say, you can take that to a minute if you want, guys. That's what you will be able to get down very, very quickly in a couple of weeks. Cool with that? And it's great as well, because what it will do, it will force you to stop talking too much. So it will force you to get to the point really quick. You've got a time clock on you. Not saying any of you do, I'm just through my experience. They have to conclude at the end. They have to tell you what they're going to do. Not you. Non-negotiables. So these are the things that whatever you agree with them, this is the 1 to 3 things. Maybe just pick one. Maybe pick 2. It's the things that you know, we're going to do this every single time now, and this sits above any technical or tactical. Sits above it. They're the things we drive first. So when they come in, you're challenging the non-negotiables first. So when they come in their 10 or 20 seconds to chat amongst themselves, they need to ask themselves, nons, yes or no? Nons are the non-negotiables. And if it's no, that's it. Let's not talk about anything else. We've got the answer right now. What do we need to change, guys? It's this. So if it's comms, yeah, we're not doing it, guys. We're not being effective in our comms. Okay, that's the answer. So when they come into you, they say, Coach, non's unacceptable. It's comms. This is what we're going to do. So the review now is based on the conclusion of the nons, because the nons come above the technical and tactical. Do not talk about technical and tactical right now. It's the nons. Send them back out. Why? Why not talk about technical and tactical?
No, they might need them for the start.
What's the important of the non-negotiables? What do we say they are?
Behaviour.
Sorry, the behaviours. What do we say behaviours were? The foundation that drives performance. They come above the technical and tactical. If their nons aren't good enough, the technical and tactical is not going to be good enough because they're not committing to it. They can't do it without the nons. That's why the nons need to be impactful. Happy with those? So here's some examples. Effective comms. Common one, but a very effective one. Be ready is another common one. It might be a tough one for you to do just for this session. It's more one within your team you're working with.